You're tuning in to Seek Travel Ride, a podcast which shares the experiences of people taking bike adventures all around the world. And this episode of Seek Travel Ride is brought to you by Red White Apparel. They don't make gloves, jerseys, or flashy kits. They just focus on bib shorts, specifically ones which are going to keep you comfortable on long rides. I've recently started using their bib shorts on some of my longest bike adventures, and here is what I've learnt. When your gear fits perfectly, you focus fully on what you're doing, the landscape and the scenery, and you're not distracted by discomfort. If you've got some long days in the saddle planned ahead, whether that's ultra cycling, a long distance tour, or just some long day rides, hit the link in the show notes to find out more. Trust me, your butt will thank you. Thanks to Red White Apparel for supporting this episode. Hello everyone, Bella Malloy here, host of Seek Travel Ride, and welcome to another midweek episode where I keep your fire for bike travel stoked with some inspiring adventure stories. Now, this week's a little bit different because instead of sharing some stories from our listeners, I'm actually going to be sharing my own personal experiences of an adventure which I took last week. It was actually over 2 days, and that was an adventure to go and see the Tour de France live Roadside. As fans of the show will know, I live in an area of France which has some pretty famous Tour de France pedigree, and it also means that every year I could pretty much guarantee that the Tour de France is going to visit nearby. Now, this year we actually had a feast of stages close by me that I could choose from, and I decided that I would visit on 2 of those days. These were stage 12 and stage 14. So I'm going to share what it was like for me on both of those days. Now, if you're ever visiting the Tour de France, one of the things that you have to decide first and foremost is where you want to go and see the riders. And on stage 12, the final climb of the day was the Autocam, and I live less than 30 minutes riding from the base of that climb. But I actually decided that I wasn't going to watch the riders there. Now, many of you may be scratching your heads thinking, why would you not watch them on that climb? And the main reason is the final climb of a mountain stage on a summit finish, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people that line that road. And whilst the atmosphere is amazing, for me it's just too many people, and it also means getting off the climb itself is often bedlam. It takes forever, and I just thought, you know what, I don't want to navigate that today. So instead I decided I would go to watch the riders take on the climb of the Col de Salor. It's a favourite climb of mine. It also has some pretty epic mountain views. And because it was the third last climb of the day, I also knew that while there would be a lot of spectators there, it wouldn't be absolutely heaving with masses of people. So that was the decision made for me. I'd see the riders on the Col de Salor, and then the next decision I had to make was how was I going to get there? Obviously, I'm going to ride my bike there, but there's a few different options for me to ride to the Salor. The one which most people take is the main road option. It was the most direct option, and lots of people riding on the main road and taking on the climb from Arens-Massus, which is at the base of the climb. It was actually going up the climb, the riders that would actually descend it. It's about a 7-kilometre climb, averages about 8%, so it's fairly climby, but also constant and quite beautiful. But I decided I wanted to make the day a little bit more adventurous, and because I was riding my gravel bike, I was going to take a different option. Now, a few kilometres before the start of the Col de Salor, there is a road that turns off which can take you to the Col de Couraduc. It's a one-way road to a ski resort, and it's a pretty punchy little climb. It's got some very stabby gradients, often in double digits. And, you know, one of those climbs where very quickly you really see the altitude gain from your efforts? It's one of those ones. But the magic thing about the Col de Couraduc is, in winter, this ski resort has lots of Nordic trails, and it actually connects the Couraduc with the Salor. And that means in summer, these Nordic trails are actually dirt road trails that people can either hike on, or if you're like me and you've got a gravel bike or perhaps even a mountain bike, you can choose to ride them as well. So if I got myself to the summit of the Col de Couraduc, I could then take the 10-kilometre gravel trail, which would then pop me out just less than a kilometre from the summit of the Salor on the approach that the riders would be taking themselves. Now, deciding to do this meant that it would be a bit more climbing for me, and it would be a bit harder as well, because the first kilometre or so from the climb of the Col de Courredouc, it's strictly hiker-bike territory, or at least it definitely was for me. My bike being weighed down with a saddlebag that had everything that I needed to view the Tour de France stage there in a nice, comfortable way. So I was packing my Helinox camp chair, which I'm a huge fan of, which meant I wouldn't be sitting on the road or on the dirt when I got to my viewing spot. Also, I had lots of sunscreen, I had lots of water, I had lots of food, I had a hat. Anyway, all is which to say, I had a few extra kilos of stuff on my bike to haul, and I wasn't going to be pedaling the first kilometre on that road. I'm generally not a fan of hiker bike sections, but I knew that hiking this first kilometre, it was going to be worth it. Now, within the first 500 metres, there was actually a pack of Pyrenean horses that were grazing on the mountainside. I don't know if you've ever seen them before, but they are huge, big, stocky pack horses. And I actually have an irrational fear of horses. So already 500 metres into this road, I have a little mini elevated heart rate moment. I know the horses aren't going to attack me, people. It's just a stupid, irrational fear, and I'm on a hiker bike section walking a lot slower past horses that I'd rather not be walking past. Anyway, I got past the horses. It was okay. I got through the hiker bike section, and then the magic just purely opened up for me. 360-degree views of this amazing, impressive mountain range. I could see behind me the valley where I was going. I could even see the final climb of the day, the autocam stage, and I could actually trace the road by all the glinting reflections of the sun hitting the camper vans and the spectators that were lining that road climb. And then obviously all around me is just beautiful mountain scenery. I could see another famous Tour de France climb, the Col d'Aubisque. And I just had so much fun being on this gravel road with no cars, no traffic, just the odd other spectator hiking their way to the climb. And I also saw another couple of people on bikes making their way as well. So, hot tip, if you're in this area of France and you've got a gravel bike, take the gravel road from the Col de Courredouc to the Col de Salor and thank me later. A few kilometres from reaching the end of the gravel road, I also had one of the most impressive views ever of my favourite road in France, or at least here in the Pyrenees. It's called the Cirque de la Tour, and it's a road that's carved into the side of the mountain. From the road, it drops off like a sheer cliff face of about 70 metres vertical. So if you have vertigo, you don't look over the edge. But from my vantage point on that dirt road, looking across the Cirque de la Tour, oh, wow, what a big gift I'd given to myself. And again, on this quiet road, it felt like I just had the view all to myself. I could also look down the road and see the climb that the riders were going to be coming up, and I could see the camper vans that had lined the climb, and I could see the spectators as well. And it was almost lunchtime, so it was definitely time for me to find a spot on the road. This gravel road popped me out onto the Col de Salor less than a kilometre from the summit, which was pretty cool. I began riding to the summit, but quickly found out that wasn't going to be an option because the gendarmes, the French police that are lining every part of the road stages that the Tour de France riders are on, they're pretty officious with mandating that after a certain time, no one is allowed to even ride their bikes on the closed road. And so if you want to get to the summit, you had to walk your way to the top. And yeah, I did, even though I've been to the top many times because, you know, you've got to get to the top, right? And at the top, there's a big mass party. There's the banner for where the riders are going to go over and clear the summit. And I could have decided to watch from there, but I actually prefer to be a little bit further down the mountain. So then I walked my bike about a kilometre down the mountain because I was just inside 1 kilometre to go. But I had a great viewing spot. I had a great place to rest myself. And I was sat around a number of fans. The great thing about being at the tour Roadside is it is like a communal roadside picnic, and you've got people from all over the world congregated on this road to cheer the riders on. It's everything from people who are fans of the sport to families that are just having an awesome day out on their holiday. Sat across the road from me was a beautiful family from the Basque Country. And this Spanish family, they had 3 little kids, and those kids were living their best life. Their parents had brought them their chairs. They'd had them umbrellas so they were shaded as well. They were eating food and they were dancing and singing and getting really excited for what was to come. I couldn't help but think, gosh, I wish I had that experience at that age. I also was sat next to two French brothers from the city of Caen in northern France, Matteo and Paul. Hi, Matteo and Paul. We had some awesome discussions as well about the riders and what they were looking forward to. And there was another French couple on the other side of me. They were motorcycle tourists who had come up on that day as well to watch the tour, and they were super excited and we chatted too. And it's one of the best things that I love about watching the tour is you sort of make friends with your neighbours on the roadside, and they're really, really good moments. Now, about 1.5 hours before the riders will ride past you on the roadside, you have one of the most exciting things that happens on a Tour de France stage, and that is that the Tour de France caravan comes past. If you don't know what this publicity caravan is, it's basically all of the sponsors of the Tour de France. They all get dressed up, they make novelty vehicles and trucks, they pump out dance tunes and music, and they have people in these trucks that drive past you and throw out heaps and heaps of free merchandise and trinkets and everything. For spectators who have been sat roadside for hours, this is real excitement, and it lasts, I would like to say, for about 20 or 30 minutes. And you have everything from, key rings to Haribo lollies to packets of pasta. I even got a little thing of balsamic vinegar to bucket hats and T-shirts. All sorts of things get thrown at you. And it's really exciting to see. I loved watching the little kids opposite me scramble for their things. And yes, you will see grown men fighting over a packet of cochonneau, which is French saucisson sausage. It's quite funny as well. I scored a can of Orangina. I was very, very happy to get a nice cold can of Orangina into me. And yeah, I came away with lots of stuff from the caravan as well. Then, with all the excitement of the caravan, the crowd sort of quietens down a bit. And then before you know it, you hear the whirring noise of the helicopters approaching. And that's the first sign that the riders are very, very close. Obviously, these are the helicopters that are filming the TV coverage, and it is amazing to see how low to the ground they fly to you and how they're so close overhead, and that really ramps up the excitement. I'm going to now play some noise from the crowd as you can hear what it's like when the riders come past.
Allez les gars! Allez, courage!
It's pretty exciting when the first riders come past you, and the benefits of watching them on a mountain stage is that they're all strung out on the road. These riders are real athletes, and they are riding up mountains faster than many of us even ride on the flat. So the great thing on the climb is you generally have a breakaway, and then you'll have the main group with the yellow jersey and the lead riders and the people that are duking it out for the general classification. And then it's really strung up in groups of, maybe 10 or 15 to 2s or 3s, and then you have the gruppetto, which is all the Tour de France sprinters. So the people who aren't built for the mountains, they all hang out together at the back as well. Probably the loudest cheer that the crowd gives out is for the final rider on the stage, who is literally riding in front of the voiture balai, which is the broom wagon. And everyone is cheering this rider on and willing them to get to the finish line in time for the time classification cutoff. Before you know it, it's probably about 10 minutes of excitement with the riders going past. The final team cars and police and everything whiz by you, and it's time to pack yourself up, get away from the roadside picnic and make your way down off the mountain. But I was 1 kilometre from the summit, so I actually had to get up to the summit before I could descend down. And yes, the gendarmes, being as officious as they are, means that you're not riding your bike there anyway. So I had the lovely 1 kilometre walk with my bike. There's then a period of waiting for the police to actually reopen the road for you to descend on, and that can be a little bit frustrating, especially in the heat. But, it's just part of the tour. You've got to wait for them to allow you to ride your bike down the road, And then you do have this awesome moment where you're riding past all the cars who aren't allowed to drive on the road yet. And so it just once again highlights that if you're coming to watch the Tour de France live, the best way to get to your viewing location is definitely on a bike. If you're coming to watch them on a mountain stage and you think, yeah, but Bella, how am I going to get up there? I'm not a mountain climber. Hire an e-bike. Seriously, there's so many of them around. It's a great way for everyone of every fitness level to get up to the pointy end of a mountain stage and actually see that part of the action. So that was the end of the first of my tour stage viewings, and then 2 days later I went out once again. This time I was joined by my awesome husband Stephen, and we decided we were going to watch the riders on the first climb of the day, which was the Col de Tourmalet. I say the first climb because the riders had 4 climbs to get up and over that day. It was another summit finish to the climb of Super Bagnières, but they were going to be going on the Tourmalet, then they were doing the Col de Aspen, the Col de Peyresourde before getting to that final climb of Super Bagnières. Now, the Tourmalet is probably one of the most famous climbs in France, especially for the Tour de France. And even though it's the first climb of 4 on one day, it was guaranteed to be packed with crowds. We have watched the tour on this climb before and knew what to expect, and both of us were pretty excited for what was to come. Although the weather, well, it wasn't that exciting. In fact, when we left home, it was sort of lightly drizzling and it was threatening rain. We'd actually packed rain jackets with us. It's a weird thing to pack a hat and sunscreen and rain jackets because where we were going to, we had, I think it was about, 1,300 meters of climbing to get to the spot that we wanted to get to, which, FYI, was still 7.5 kilometers from the very summit of the Tourmalet. But when you've got that much elevation ahead of you, you honestly don't know what weather to expect. So you've got to sort of pack for all eventualities. The way the Tour de France works on these road stages as well is they are road closures that you need to factor into for your commute to get to somewhere on the stage, and you need to make sure that you have left yourself enough time to get to your viewing spot before the roads are actually closed. It generally means that you will have hours spent sat in one spot on the road waiting for the riders. So you want to make sure that you take all your food with you and that you take everything that you need to be comfortable on the roadside. That means there's a non-negotiable stop at the boulangerie before you make the climb, and we stocked up on baguettes and food and pastries that we would enjoy for our lunch. Now, I've been fortunate enough to climb the Col de Tourmalet many times, and is it fortunate? Because it's a sufferfest. It almost takes me 2 hours to reach the top because it's a 19-kilometre climb. We plan to view them 7.5 kilometres from the summit on the last of a series of hairpin bends because we've done it there before and it's a beautiful viewing location. But one of the best things is the Tourmalet is so famous. There were thousands and thousands of people also heading up the climb, and there is just, I don't know that words will do justice to the festival atmosphere it is to be riding the mountain on the day that the tour is going to be riding on it as well. You're riding with thousands of other people riding their bikes. There's people that are walking as well, and there's people that are already camped roadside, either in camper vans that have been there for days or families that live in the small villages, and they are all cheering you on. So you almost feel like one of the riders themselves. And I cannot put into words how someone giving you a allez, allez, allez and cheering you on, it does give you an energy boost as you make your way up a really hard mountain climb, it has to be said. Now, the weather was something we were concerned about, and I really feel like we were gifted some good luck that day because it was perfect for us. It was really perfect spectators weather. There was a few clouds obscuring the full sun, which meant that whilst it was warm, it wasn't searingly hot like I had had 2 days ago watching on the Col de Salor. And we had beautiful atmospheric clouds sort of coming in and out of the mountains. This beautiful golden light would hit the peaks around us. And all along, it's just this beautiful ambient background noise of everyone in the crowd getting excited for the riders to come along. It really is a communal roadside picnic. You get up there for a few hours and then everyone just sits down. Some people are playing cards. Some people are chatting about the race itself. Some families are just getting excited. And then there are people literally cooking barbecues. There was a few guys from Pamplona in Spain. They had literally bought a proper barbecue up on the roadside and were cooking what I think was one of the biggest steaks I have ever seen. And they had a full cook setup. And so everyone's just enjoying a day out on the roadside. It's a picnic on the climb. Listeners, let's talk saddle comfort for a second. If you have ever squirmed through a ride because your bib shorts weren't cutting it and you were so darn uncomfortable, gosh, do I feel you. I have been there, I have suffered through it, and it is the absolute pits. Well, our sponsor, Red White Apparel, make bib shorts which have really changed that for me. I've been riding in them recently and they just work, even in the heat, even on long climbs, hour after hour. Plus, they're pee break friendly, which is a huge bonus when you're touring, and I would say, as a woman, an absolute non-negotiable when I'm looking for bib shorts. Check them out. I have a link to their website in the show notes. Hit it up and support the brands that support the podcast. Okay, now back to the episode. Something that I have done the last few years is I have a inflatable boxing kangaroo, which I have affectionately called Bruce, and he comes with me on every Tour de France stage as well. I blow him up and then I actually tie him to my helmet. And the other cool thing about doing that is a lot of people from the crowd, they love the boxing kangaroo and they come and strike up a conversation, and you just make these new sort of friendships on the day as well. The other good thing is having something like that visually means when you eventually get home and you watch the replay, you've got something striking to look out for, and it's amazing how many times you can just go, oh, there I am, there's Bruce the kangaroo. So hot tip, if you're ever actually travelling to a Tour de France stage, bring something a little bit identifiable with you so that you can look out for it on the replay, and tell your friends and family as well. Once again, there were people represented from so many different countries all around the world. I saw Australians, I saw New Zealanders and English people from the US, Colombians. There were also people obviously from France. There were people from Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany, so many other countries. And it's really cool. You just hear all these different languages spoken and everyone's there for the same reason. We had the excitement of the tour caravan coming past once again and watching everybody scramble for, a packet of Haribo lollies or 3 different keychains. The crowd is so pumped with the caravan, and then funnily enough, for about half an hour, it's like everyone's turned the volume button down and everyone's silent. They're either eating their food or they're just waiting because the riders aren't too far away. Now, because of the weather, there were actually no helicopters flying overhead for us to let us know that the riders were on their way, but we could hear the excitement from the crowds on the road below us cheering the riders on, and it is quite something to just hear this noise sort of echoing up the mountain climb as the riders make their way closer to you. From our advantage spot, we could actually see them on the road and we could see them sort of snaking their way up the climb, going at ridiculously fast speeds. I cannot overstate just how fast these athletes are actually travelling. And I want to play you a little bit of noise again from the crowd cheering the first group of riders on. It was just absolutely phenomenal. It doesn't matter how many times I have viewed the riders racing past me on a mountain, I'm still taken away at the speeds they fly past me. And it was awesome to be sat on a hairpin there and just watch the riders come all the way around. Once again, in a matter of probably about 10 minutes from the first rider to the last rider passing by, it was time to pack everything up on the bike and make the long descent back down. We had 11.5 kilometres to descend, just get off the Tourmalet, and it was a case of ride a bit, stop a bit, wait for the gendarmes and the police to say, yes, you can ride on. On this section of the Tourmalet, the way they were managing it was that they would let groups of, I would say, 10 or 15 riders ride down the mountain at a time, just to make sure that thousands of people weren't descending all at once. It is quite something, though, that you need to be aware of. A, you're descending on a mountain road, so it's pretty steep. There's also thousands of people everywhere next to you. So whether that's people on bikes or people walking or people parked in cars, it's just something to be aware of. It's going to take you longer to get off the mountain than you ever expected. It is pretty cool, though, riding past parked cars, because the cars have a lot longer to wait to get off the mountain than you do. And it really does highlight to me that probably the best way to see the tour is definitely on a bicycle. When we got home, we watched the replay and we realised just how lucky we were to have the weather we did, because I think pretty much from about 500 metres on from us, where we were watching them on the Tourmalet, the weather was absolutely abysmal. It was proper mountain weather. There was thick fog, there was rain at times, and it was like that pretty much for the rest of the stage. So we were really lucky that we weren't rained on. We could see the riders. We had great views, and the road stayed dry for us as well. That was awesome. And that pretty much wraps up 2 days of watching the Tour de France Roadside. I have actually put a series of vlog videos together from my 2 days of viewing the tour, and I'm going to put them up as a YouTube video on the Seek Travel Ride YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to that channel, what are you doing? If you want to see the adventures that I get up to, subscribe to our YouTube channel and you can see some of the other tours I have taken as well. But all is to say, I will have a full roundup of the visuals behind these 2 days for you to watch if you are interested. And if coming to watch the Tour de France live on the roadside is something you are keen on, definitely reach out to me. I also offer a travel advisory service where I can help you plan your cycling holiday here in France. Whether it's to go cycling or to watch the riders of the tour, I've got lots of experience that I am happy to help share and pass on so that you can plan your ideal cycling in France vacation. Okay, listeners, now it's part of my favourite time of the day where I get to shout out you, my super fans, who have shown your love and support for what I've produced here on Seek Travel Ride and bought me some coffees. Each week these virtual coffees come through, and alongside them the messages of support which fill me with joy. And so this week I am shouting out superfan Kurt Werby. Kurt, you are an awesome member of the Seek Travel Ride community, and listeners, if that name sounds familiar, it's because we are featuring Kurt and his upcoming ride in Morocco this October. He's taking the Route of Caravans bikepacking route on there in Morocco, and I'm going to be super stoked to bring you his experiences from there. But Kurt, you've bought me some coffees and you've said, the world is a better place with Seek Travel Ride and you, Bella, in it. I can't even begin to thank you for all you've done for this wonderful community and for myself. Nonetheless, a massive heartfelt thank you. Well, thank you, Kurt, for being a legend and supporting me and the show. You are a very valuable member of our Seek Travel Ride community, and it does fill me with joy to know that it's a community that's got a lot of people like you in it, and a lot of people that get together, message each other, and give each other tips and hints about taking their bike adventures too. Thank you so much for supporting me and shouting me some coffees. Listeners, if you want to show your support for everything that I've done to put together these episodes for Seek Travel Ride, you too can be like Kurt and buy me some coffees. Go to buymeacoffee.com/Seek Travel Ride. Buy me a few virtual coffees, but most importantly, tell me what is it that you love about Seek Travel Ride and where is your next bike adventure going to take you? And until the next episode, I'm Bella Malloy. Thanks for listening. A big thanks to Red White Apparel for supporting this episode of the podcast. Their bib shorts have made a real difference to how I feel on the bike hour after hour after hour. They're comfy, smartly designed, and I no longer spend hours shifting around on the saddle trying to find a position that will work for me. You can find a link to Red White Apparel in the show notes. Click on the link and support the brands that support the podcast.